All right. Welcome everybody to another episode of Achieve 10X TV. My name is Jimmy Yen. I am your host. I'm a licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, and nutritionist. And today we are interviewing local people who are helping our local community. We decided to do this because every business, is being affected by COVID-19, and we wanted to help put the unity within community. And so today I am super excited to have an attorney. Haven't had one yet, so I'm super excited to have Shanna Valentine on the show. And so, Shanna, why don't you introduce yourself a little more?
Okay, well, I am Shanna Valentine. I'm the owner of the Valentine Law Firm. We're located in Cedar Park, and we take cases throughout the entire state of Texas.
Nice. And so, Shanna, I think people want to know is, with COVID-19 affecting everybody, how has it affected, whether you personally or, your business professionally, how has it
Mhm.
affected you?
Well, we're a personal injury law firm, and so the majority of our cases are car accident and negligent cases, which involve people going places. So stay-at-home orders and quarantine really does negatively impact the amount of cases that our firm is going to get as far as new cases go. But the benefit I've noticed for us is that it's really helped us focus on the cases that we already have to get much better settlements for those individuals. One interesting aspect, I was having a discussion with another attorney about this yesterday, is the statistics say that auto claims themselves for accidents are down to only 39% of what the insurance companies normally are paying at this time of year. And
Yeah.
that's why you see the big firms giving back premiums and doing reimbursements and programs like that, because I mean, they have so much money extra because they're not paying out. What I have noticed though is that because they have less claims that they're paying out on the existing claims, they actually are giving much better settlements. Right now, we can't get into court, so we're not doing any jury trials, and I'm not real sure when the courts are going to reopen and allow us to get back to doing that. So all of the cases that we've had come to completion in the last 2.5 months have happened in settlement agreements or have happened in mediation. And the value of those cases, I've noticed, have been significantly higher. I think partially because there seems to be a little bit of extra money in the pockets of the insurance companies. On top of that, I think they also realize, if they end up not settling with us and we have to go to trial in a year and a half, they're going to have to pay interest on that amount that they didn't pay.
Yeah.
So, it's been negative in the sense that we're not seeing the amount of new cases, but it has been a very good thing, I think, for the clients that we already have.
Awesome. No, that's very good to hear. Just on a side note, because I had a patient tell me that when she was calling in to like her doctor's offices, now doctor's offices are asking an additional question that I thought was interesting, was that, do you feel safe? Do you feel
Yeah.
safe at home? Because they were saying that they were seeing an increase in domestic abuse.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you seen that from a law firm's standpoint? Have you seen that happen?
Well, thankfully, in our own practice, we don't have any of those family cases, but I have a ton of friends who have their own family law practices.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that's been really difficult, I've noticed, is there has been an uptick. There's obviously, they've already statistically found there's an uptick in suicide rates.
Mm,
There's an uptick in domestic violence.
yeah.
There's an uptick in CPS cases where these children are being abused, unfortunately, because, they're with a parent who's either neglectful or does some sort of punishment that's over the top.
Yeah.
The real issue with that too, and it's just a side note, I guess, something that we're noticing is it's really difficult to get into court to actually make sure that these victims are protected. The
Yeah.
courts are doing the best they can to try to make it so that they can protect the victims, but I mean, you have these offenders who are being arrested. They'll go to the local jail, they'll be arraigned, and at that point, most of them are being released back into the general population because they don't want to house more people in the jails than they have to because they're nervous that there's going to be coronavirus infection. So that's going to be a whole nother issue. In fact, I don't know if you saw earlier this week, there was a team of over 600 doctors who signed off on a letter to the president saying that they were suggesting he start lifting some of these stay-at-home orders, if at all possible, on the federal level, because there are people who are being abused and also people who are neglecting their own health. I don't know if you saw that. They're not going to their routine. They're not going to routine appointments right now. They're nervous to go if they're on dialysis. They're skipping dialysis appointments.
Yeah.
So it's had a lot of negative impacts on people's health and on their safety and their physical well-being. It's pretty fascinating to see what staying at home can actually do to all of us.
Yeah, I know.
Who knew?
We look at the positive sides, but we don't see the negative sides.
Yeah.
And there's actually a lot more negative sides than most people realize.
Yeah.
You would think, because like in my clinic, you would think that, okay, now stay at home, everybody has time, right? Because usually
Yeah.
everybody complains about not having enough time. And so now everybody has the time. But here's the thing that we're seeing is that more of the patients are actually getting in worse health. They're doing less for their health than when they didn't have time. They were
Mm-hmm.
actually healthier. It's just,
Yeah, because why wake up at 5 a.m. and exercise when you have all day to do it now? And then eventually the day gets away with you and you're not doing it. Or, why eat healthy today when, you have tomorrow and the rest of the week to eat healthy? So I definitely understand that, and I see it too. I've definitely seen that. I mean, they do talk about the quarantine 15,
yeah.
like the freshman 15. I can see that. And that's just from a weight standpoint. That's not talking about in the physical
Yeah.
health. That's not talking the mental health.
Yeah, I think that's a big part is mental health. But let's go back to, you made an interesting point about how you became a lawyer, and it's a different story.
Yeah.
So how did you get into this profession?
So I'm one of those lucky people who have pretty much my entire life known what I wanted to be, aside from the time when I was in like the third grade and wanted to be a well trainer or something. But when I was young, I'm from Southeast Texas. I have an aunt who was murdered, and my mom's older sister, and that was something that has been a part of my life for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so, it's difficult. Actually, it was a domestic violence
Oh, wow.
dispute, and it's an unsolved murder because I'm from a small town, and unfortunately, there is corruption on every level of government, and so this would be another instance of that. And because of all of that, and constantly being around it, and it's something I've lived with my entire life, I've always wanted to see justice for victims. Originally, when I first graduated from law school, that manifested in trying to do criminal law.
Yeah.
But very quickly, I understood that everybody's guilty and everybody just wants to plead down. And, there's no challenge in that. And so the next step was, all right, I thought, well, I could do family law would be interesting. Family law was mentally very taxing on me though, because I'm a child of a divorced family. I was raised by my father, and I believe that it's very important for both parents to be involved in the child's life. And I noticed that sometimes it's just such an emotional time in the parents' lives, they have a hard time understanding that. I was fortunate enough to be able to kind of stumble into personal injury back in 2014.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's absolutely the best. It's on a personal level, it helps me very much balance my work and home life because I do have a family and I like to be actively involved in my child's life and my husband's life. But from a professional standpoint, I feel like I'm doing much more good than in any other area. I have people who come to me, and sometimes they're minor injuries, but sometimes it's a death in the family. In fact, that's happened to us recently. We got another death case, unfortunately. And that's when I feel like our firm can really shine, because any firm can take a case, walk the person through the steps of whatever they need to do, whether it be pre-suit settlement or litigation, and get a settlement at the end. But what I feel like really allows us to make a difference is that we're here for the personal aspect of it. If somebody, like a death, if the family members need to call and talk, well, I mean, we're here, and we don't pawn you off on a case manager. We actually sometimes become a part of these people's lives.
Yeah.
I had a death case a few years ago where I befriended the mom to the point where when she remarried, I wasn't in the wedding, but I was at the wedding. And but that's just one example of how we're different. We do all the regular legal stuff that everyone else can do,
Hmm.
but we bring that personal touch to it because we really do care. It's not just something we say. We practice what we preach here.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen that with one of our patients that utilizes your services,
Yeah.
and he said the same thing. And so, why did you choose? Because you're located in Cedar Park,
Yep.
but why did you choose Cedar Park?
Well, I I I used to live here. I moved about a week ago. Just north. I'm just barely north in Liberty Hill. But before that, I lived here. My child goes to school here. Um, and there was a need for it. There you go to Austin and you swing a bat and you hit a lawyer.
Yeah.
But Cedar Park doesn't have that. We have a few family lawyers here. We have a few like criminal defense attorneys.
Hmm.
We have one patent attorney, but we have no other personal injury attorneys. And a lot of individuals here don't necessarily want to drive all the way to Austin for something. Sometimes they can't drive all the way to Austin. If you've been in an accident, you're not really that mobile. And not only do we service people here in the suburbs, but we service a lot of people out in the rural areas,
Uh-huh.
Liberty Hill, Bertram, Florence. I mean, we do stretch all across the state. We have right now, I have a federal case in Abilene. We have another case all the way down in Rancho Viejo. We have some up in the DFW,
Uh-huh.
but the majority of the cases are here in the suburbs. We do have Austin cases as well, and out in the more rural areas. And I'm from the country, and I like country people. And there's just something special about them. Nothing, no offense to city slickers,
Yeah.
but I like dealing with people who live up in the North Austin and greater Austin area because they seem like they're more salt of the earth type people.
Okay. Yeah. And so is the laws for attorneys similar to like medical providers, where you can only practice within the state of Texas, or can you actually seek help of cases outside of Texas?
Both, but here it's a kind of a complex question. So in our practice, I'm the owner, but I have an associate. So we do have another attorney who's barred in Texas and in Florida.
Oh,
So
okay.
for her, for instance, any case that comes up in Florida, she can just take a flight over there and she could litigate that case no problem.
Okay.
Me, I haven't taken the bar in Florida. So if I if there were a case that originated here and let's say the person has moved to Florida, or if the accident originated in Florida and now they've moved here and they want to hire a local attorney, I would be able to co-counsel with somebody from the other state.
Got it.
So to not have to have a co-counsel, you have to be barred there. So that's why we do have we can practice in federal courts here in Texas, and we can practice in the state courts here. But for us to be able to practice in a different state, we would need a bar license. But lucky for us, that other attorney, her name is Margie Tapia. Shout out to her. She is barred in 2 states and she's bilingual. So
Nice.
that's an extra bonus that she has that I guess I don't have.
What other language does she speak?
So she speaks Spanish and English,
Okay.
and then our paralegal speaks French because she's from Canada,
Okay.
German because her parents are German,
Yeah.
and English. So yeah, everybody speaks multiple languages except for me.
Except you.
Yeah.
But at least, if you need the help, if there is, because we do have a lot of Spanish speaking people,
Hmm.
even in Cedar Park and all over Austin. So your office obviously has that capability to,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
if English is not their first language. So you mentioned, motor vehicle accidents, car accidents are, majority of what you see. Is there anything else? Is there something that you don't see that you would actually refer out?
Yes, we did quite a few medical malpractice cases
Okay.
for like calls for medical malpractice
Okay.
cases. Once upon a time, it was really easy to sue doctors. Sorry. But Texas has really created a lot of restrictions on that now. And so that is one thing that I have no problems with people calling, but that would be a case that I would refer out. And I have a few different law firms that I know and trust that I will give those referrals to.
Okay, nice. And is there any other, besides, accidents, car accidents, is there any other cases that you would accept?
Well, actually, this is a statement we say often, and
Mhm.
I kind of say it jokingly, but I feel like it pretty much covers it. If you've been injured
Yeah.
and it's not your fault,
Okay.
those are the only two requirements that we have. We will sometimes have, children jumping on a trampoline,
Yeah.
and it's so you have that's a homeowner's case, or you have a handyman, or you are a handyman and you get injured on somebody's premises. Well, that could also be you have a premises liability sometimes, or a homeowner's case. So really, the only requirements to talk to us are you have to be hurt,
Yeah.
and it has to not be your fault. That's
Okay.
it. Those are the only requirements.
That's very simple. So if you can go through, because not everybody has gone through. I mean, you shared using a lot of some technical terms. So not everybody's gone through a lawyer, and they don't necessarily know, what happens during, when you go speak to an attorney. Like when someone comes into my office, they don't know what's going to happen in an acupuncture clinic, and how that separates me from someone else. So
Mhm.
for your law firm, when someone contacts you, can you guide us through the steps of what they would have to go through, just so that the people who may be thinking about looking for a lawyer, what to expect?
Well, the first thing is when they call, we
Mhm.
will have them, we either do it with them over the phone or we can send it to them, but we'll have them fill out an intake form.
Okay.
Usually it's something we like to do over the phone to get some preliminary information. And also that way, whatever holes we have in that intake form, we can tell them before you come to our initial meeting, make sure to bring that information.
Got it.
So then we'll do an initial meeting, um, and that is all free. That's one thing that most people don't understand about personal injury lawyers is there is never a money exchange from the client to me ever. We work on a contingency fee, and so you hear these commercials about we don't get paid until you do. Well, I mean that's true, So I get paid on a contingency. You could call me 100 times a day, or you could call me one time a day. Either way, it's still the same fee. Um, and so they come in for their initial consultation. I don't set a time on that. Sometimes it's a smaller case. Maybe they're not injured as bad. It's very cut and dry. Maybe only a 30 to 45-minute consultation. And there's sometimes I'll talk with somebody for 2 hours. So I talk to them as long as is necessary.
Okay.
After that, they at that point will have already started treating, or they will start going to, like, they've already started the treatment, or they'll start going to treatment. Treatment's very important. A lot of people don't understand that in Texas, your settlement is based in large part on what your medical bills and your medical expenses are. And so, in some other states, Florida actually being an example, if you're injured, uh, the laws there create I guess a situation where it's easier for you to get a large lump sum payout, whereas here in Texas you have to show actually that you're hurt and
Yeah.
that you've tried to do something to remedy that injury. And so it's important that people start treatment as soon as they can.
Yeah.
And I always tell people health insurance should not be a reason, whether you have it or not, should not be a reason why you do not seek treatment. If you need it, go get it. That's why you hire a lawyer. We'll make sure that the treatment is actually paid for. So
Mhm.
then the client will start going through their treatment plan, and it could last as long or as short as the doctor suggests that it be. There are times when the client never gets back to 100%,
Yeah.
and that's just the nature of the game. I usually try to help and navigate a situation where the client is at least back to 90 to 95% of their maximum medical improvement. Otherwise, I feel like we haven't fully done our job. So once they're done treating, that's when the lawyering really begins,
Mhm.
because that's when I have all of the notes from you and from other doctors, and we draft up a very long narrative of everything that's happened in this case, down to diagnoses and treatment plans and any future care. And we also have the client usually send me something that's not, it doesn't have to be a day by day journal, but some kind of journal that explains the hardships of their injuries, how it's negatively impacted their life. Because I could draft a very general narrative,
Yeah.
and a lot of attorneys will do that, but that doesn't help you settle the case.
Yeah.
To me, the more individualized you can make it, the more you're showing your cards that, listen, if you don't settle with me before we file a lawsuit, these are the items I'm going to bring up.
Yeah.
And that does help us settle these cases before we actually have to file suit. Most of the time, these cases do settle.
Yeah.
But if they don't, we're trial attorneys. And so if we don't settle it, then we go down the litigation road, and that's a whole nother beast. you know but it's not as painful as a lot of people think. And just because we file suit on a case doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be sitting in a jury trial one day, with the whole shebang and 12 jurors.
Like
Most of the cases, yeah, most of the cases still settle. But you have to have an attorney that the insurance companies take seriously, that they know if you don't settle, even if you're in litigation, if you don't settle at some point, we're going to go to a jury trial. And thankfully, we've earned that reputation, which, has helped. It's definitely helped.
So it sounds like, it's important for people to tell a story. It's like you're telling
Oh, yes.
a story about, what's happening on a day to day, instead of just, oh, I got in a car accident, it's your fault, and so forth.
Well, one thing that we ask our clients to do is just, you can just jot it down. You can do it electronically. You can have a little notebook,
Yeah.
but not, like I said, not every day. But let's say, you had a daddy-daughter dance that has been scheduled, and your 7-year-old's been looking forward to it, and you flat out can't go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that means something.
Yeah.
And it's monetarily, it's gonna mean something different to you than it is to me, than it is to every juror,
Yeah.
but it means something.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I'll say, listen, if something like that comes up, or if you have an anniversary trip you can't go on, or, you're finding that you used to sleep upstairs in your master and now you're downstairs in the guest room,
Yeah.
those are items that we need to make sure to include, because they all have some sort of value.
Yeah. So it sounds like definitely, the higher the chance you're going to get a settlement, is like success is in the details.
Hmm.
So these
For
little
sure.
things. And so it's so important that your lawyer spend the time to get those details, because it sounds like from other, maybe other bigger law firms, they may not go spend the time to learn about what's going on in your day to day in order to help you build that case. And that's what separates your firm from other firms, because you actually spend the time to learn that, and therefore increases the chance of winning the case, based
Mhm.
on what y'all decide that y'all wanted.
Well, we only take on a certain number of clients too. I mean, we kind of, I don't have a hard number where I say, 20 or whatever, but you can kind of gauge, okay, we need to maybe pump the brakes a little bit, because I like to know everything about every client. I'm not a control freak. I'm detail oriented. Okay, that's what I say. I'm detail oriented. But what I mean by that is, if I have an insurance company call me and say, hey, I need to know what's going on with John Smith's case, I can tell you without even looking at their file 9 times out of 10 what's going on with John Smith's case.
Yeah.
And it's because we're familiar with everyone.
Yeah.
Well, before coronavirus, we
Yeah.
were doing in-person meetings between me and staff, and twice a week we're doing a meeting on what's going on with so and so. Tell me what's going on with this person. Because I take care of the cases. My associate takes care of the cases. We don't have in this office a case manager. And a lot of firms have case managers, because when you have high volume, you have to have somebody who's supervising all the cases.
Yeah.
We don't have that, because I like to have a more hands-on approach.
Mhm.
I don't see that changing. That's kind of the culture of our firm. But again, it's because we like to say we're boutique.
Yeah.
We bring results of big firms. That I'll definitely tell you. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah.
But when you don't have to run the clients through, then naturally you can get to know the clients much better. And in the end, that means better results for the clients, not only treatment wise,
Mhm.
but financially.
Yeah. That's beautiful. So where can people find you?
Well, right now you can find me at home. I'm kidding. Totally joking. So our office is in Cedar Park. It's on the corner of New Hope and Baghdad.
Okay.
The official address is a New Hope address, 921 West New Hope Drive. But you can also find us online. It's the ValentineLawFirm.com.
Okay.
We have a very strong online presence. You can go and check out our reviews there. We also blog. We have a Facebook page, and there's a Twitter account that we have. But I struggle with Twitter, but we do have one, and somehow we transfer the blogs from Facebook over to Twitter.
Yeah.
I just not real sure how that happens because I'm not the one who does it.
You need to go hire a fifth grader.
That's right. I need to talk to my 7-year-old.
All right, Shanna. This is awesome, great information for some, especially just for people who don't know what it is to hire a lawyer and so forth.
Yeah.
And it's good to know the difference that's available out there. And so, what are some last things that you would like to leave our audience, for today?
Well, I often get the question to me, well, I don't know if I have a case.
Yeah.
Don't try to determine that on your own. Get opinions from attorneys. You can always shop around. And so, we have this motto here that it doesn't cost you anything to talk to us, but it could cost you everything if you don't. And that is really a line I want people to remember. It does not cost a dime to talk to us. So, give us a call anytime. You can submit an intake form even with just a simple question on our website, and we will help guide you in the right direction to tell you if you have a meaningful case or if we can't help you, where we can find somebody to help you.
Awesome. Appreciate that. So I will share this on Facebook. I'll tag you. And if
Lord.
get your 7-year-old to do it.
Yeah, there you go.
I guarantee you she knows more. So I'll tag you, put your information so people can find you. So just like Shanna said, don't wait. Don't try to be a lawyer yourself. There's a reason why there's a reason why professionals go to school, and so don't determine that yourself. Talk to Shanna and her team, and at least it's free, and just find out. And if she can't help you, she'll refer you to someone that can. I appreciate your time, Shanna. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Experience for me all. And I will talk to you soon, but thank you for doing this. It was very.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite.
You're welcome.
Everybody stay safe and healthy. That is a big one right now. Stay safe and healthy.
Yes. All right. Well, it was good talking to you, Shanna.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.